Sometimes I wonder where music can take me in the world. Because for me, music is voyage. In this episode, I met Peter, who is a master's student at Oxford University. He kindly invited me to his home and he introduced me to the wondrous city of Oxford. Peter is researching about the song Rule Britannia and its relationship with national identity. In parallel, I met Phillip, a musician from the Sydney Uni in Australia who is researching about the meaning of music. He explained a bit about it to me and there was a clear connection with Peter's findings. Hello, Peter! How are you?
Welcome to Oxford. Come here, mate.
Thank you. So thanks so much for receiving me in your house, Peter. I'm really happy to be here in Oxford. Such a beautiful house.
What I thought we might do is walk into Oxford, go down, there's a lane here, Cuckoo Lane, it goes all the way to Oxford.
Yeah.
And then we can nip to the library. I'll show you where I work most days. And Bodleian, have a look round, and then we'll come back and have a party tonight.
Sounds really good.
Welcome.
Before that, I have something here for you. It's something from Brazil. That's for you. A little bit.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That's from 3 really important Brazilian songs.
I love it, and also, I was a bit worried that it was a Brazil football shirt, which I wouldn't have been able to wear out of loyalty to England. So we're outside Merton College in Oxford, next to the Botanical Gardens, which are just over there. We're right in the centre of Oxford, just by the river. Yeah.
So you're not originally from here.
No, I'm originally from Manchester.
How do you feel being connected to this almost millennial university?
When I saw this on television, say 40 years ago, I never thought I could go somewhere like this. So in that way it was a pleasure. But it's more about the facilities, which are amazing, and the libraries, 130 of them. The history's nice, but the main thing is the quality of the teaching. So it's the centre of learning, especially if you're trying to learn from scratch. So that's where it's been great for me. A wide range of subjects, not just history, not just anthropology, but literature, arts, music.
Besides the university feeling that you have in the town, so it's quite touristic as well. So you were walking around and you see so many buses and tourists taking photos. How do you feel about this?
I'm quite happy with that because I feel if it wasn't a beautiful city, they wouldn't come. I've been a tourist myself. So sometimes it's a nuisance, especially in the library if you're concentrating. But there are always places you can go where it's quiet. So I think it's a privilege for them to come here, a privilege for me to be here.
Your research is related to music. But did you have music in your life before? Did you have any experience with music?
Yes, I had some experience of music. I was brought up in the Salvation Army, so I learned to play the trumpet. So that was fun, so I did that till I was about 28. And then I played when I was in the Middle East for a few years in the orchestra there. So that was where I got my love of music from. And it's also a great thing about Oxford, there's always some music on, especially choral music, which is my favourite. Each of the colleges has a chapel, they sing every night, and often there's a visiting choir, or you can listen to someone playing the organ. So that's why it's a great city.
Do you think songs are a more authentic way of depicting a moment in history?
It's a very good question, but it's more that there aren't enough sources otherwise.
Right.
So if you, currently what I also look at is painting, poetry, literature, like Shakespeare or Chaucer, because if you miss those sources, there usually is not enough, especially if you go further back.
Yeah.
So by taking a song, and especially in this case by seeing how it changes, you see how the nation's changing and becoming more confident. You can also do it in things like cartoons. There's many ways. So the way I see things is there's many ways of looking at history, and these are just more ways, so that you're not just limited to what's in the archive. Sport would be another one. So I spent some time looking at cricket and national identity in the West Indies. And so there's all these different ways you can look at society, how it works. So that's what I'm interested in.
Philip, thanks so much for receiving me here in your house.
It's my pleasure.
So where are we?
We're in Sydney, more precise actually, we're at Bondi Beach, just next to the water, just next to the sea.
And you're at the Sydney Uni. What's your research about?
Well, I'm dealing with the problem of the meaning of music. Does music have a meaning? I've got a range of answers which I've developed for it, but the main thing is I've got an idea. And the idea is that the meaning of music comes from the cultural context in which it's made, composed, performed, but more importantly, how it's heard and received. And the main way which I demonstrate that is through the context of film scoring. Just to give a very quick way to get to what I mean, the film King Kong from 1933 was unique. It had new ways of doing it, and they were testing it with a potential audience. When they had King Kong on the top of the Empire State, the audience will laugh at it. They thought it was ridiculous. So they got the head studio composer, Max Steiner, and he composed a really strident, romantic but modernist music. Rum, bum, 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 rum, rum, rum. And all of a sudden the test audiences were giving gasps of horror. It's not literally beginning of film music of that classic Hollywood film score, but scholars tend to say this is when real film scoring, where the meaning of the film is enhanced by the music. And that really connects with what you're speaking about, the research from your friend at Oxford about Rule Britannia.
My research, I have a big interest in national identity, this term that's widely used but not often understood. Sometimes people use songs. Well, everybody uses a song for a sense of national identity. That's the national anthem. But there are a lot of other songs, folk songs, popular songs, and a very popular one in England was Rule Britannia. And this came out in 1740 at an opera performance for the Prince of Wales at the time. At the time, the nation had only been formed about 40 years, the Union of Great Britain. So this idea of Britannia was very important. Now Britannia is a mythical figure in England. She's on postage stamps, she's on coins. She first came when Britain was a Roman province, and she sits there with a shield with the Union Jack on it and a sword and spear. She's like the embodiment, the female personification of a nation, a bit like liberty is in France. And so this song came out and it talks about Rule Britannia, Britannia rule the waves, Britons will never be slaves. And these are three important constructs in British identity. One is as a maritime power, two is as free, and three is this notion of this woman defending the land. And she's been with us ever since. She's still in cartoons today, so at the time of Brexit, you see pictures of Britannia coming up. Now at the time, Britain was always at war with France. This rivalry with France also came out in this song. And so when Napoleon took over in France, this was a good way of Britain singing against him. And what's important about this song, in my view, is it didn't stay in the 18th century. And it's still very popular today. So every year we have a Night of the Proms, it's called. It's televised live on television, and the last song is this song, Rule Britannia. And there's an interesting twist to it, because as Britain grew more powerful, especially once Britain had ruled the waves post 1815 with the Battle of Trafalgar, at that point the song changed to say Britain, not Britain rule the waves, but Britain rules the waves. Now, of course, we don't rule the waves now. This was the time when we had by far the largest navy in the world. But the song is still sung, and it's still a song about Britain's identity. And that's been a mantra, if you like, of British national identity for all that time, and has changed with the times, but still remains very popular. Football matches, any national occasion. But what's important about the song is, words are one thing, singing is another, because of the emotional context.
Think about the words, James Thomson's words for Rule Britannia. If you just read those words, they seem benign and silly now, because the political context, the historical context of Britain was way back then. We don't have that context. But as soon as the music's put to those words, then the meaning of that becomes almost timeless. It's the meaning of Britain having victory against all odds, and that kind of thing of Rule Britannia. And so the music, like in a film score, sets up the emotional content and gives you that feeling. This gives me that music touches a sublime part of our psyche, that our private world is a world of unclarity and of dark feelings, but music in some respects touches on that sublime feeling.
If you take me and you, you're Brazilian, I'm English, I probably have more in common with you than most Britons.